Hey everyone, and welcome to lesson 3, the post-endorsement decision. So what are we talking about with this? So this is essentially the organization has decided yes, they're going to endorse you, or no, they're not going to endorse you. So I wanted to give you a little bit of advice and strategies on how to move forward given either one of those decisions. So let's say you did not receive the endorsement. So then what? Well, you're going to want to continue courting them. So when you run for political office, just imagine that you're going to be running for political office the rest of your life. And so maybe this time around you didn't get them, but maybe next time around you will. Even if you think, okay, this is the one time I'm ever going to do this, and if I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. Then I'm never going to do this again. Don't assume so, because there's a lot of people that have thought that, and then they end up running for office again and again later on in their life. So take a really long-term approach to this and continue courting those people, even if you didn't get their support, and tell them, throughout the campaign, well, I would still love to have you supporting my candidacy. So just continue. Of course, send them a thank you card right afterward. It's a small touch, but it makes a big difference. And you're going to do this to either organization, whether you get the endorsement or not. But even if you didn't get the endorsement, make sure to send that thank you card to them. When I was running political action committees and doing endorsements, I hardly ever got thank you cards from either people that we endorsed or didn't endorse. And when I did get the thank you card, it made a big difference. And it made the biggest impact when it was a candidate that I didn't endorse, that we didn't endorse, and I got a thank you card from them. That's a really big move. So I greatly encourage you to do that as well. Third, and this is really important, is to don't take it personal. There could be a million different reasons why they chose to endorse one candidate over another, and sure, it's not the best thing for your campaign, but you're going to move on and you're going to do great things with your campaign. And it's just one drop in the bucket. So try not to take it personally. Like I said, there could be a million different reasons why they endorsed another candidate or they didn't endorse in the race at all. So if you did receive the endorsement of the organization, then now what? So, okay, great, cool. Now how do I get the most value out of this? So the endorsement, and people don't realize this, the endorsement is a two-way thing. The organization is going to get something out of it just as much as you're going to get something out of it. So let's talk about first what you can get out of it. So the first thing is a campaign contribution. I'm actually kind of surprised in my recent talks with political organizations about how many of them don't have fundraising efforts and aren't giving campaign contributions. In Sacramento, well, I know it's because I worked on statewide politics in Sacramento or in California, and that's, California is like the size of a nation, and the political races there are kind of a big deal, and a lot of money gets raised and spent. But even in the local races in the Sacramento area that I worked on as president of Sacramento Stonewall, we raised a good chunk of money and spent a big chunk of money on races in the Sacramento area. And anyway, going on a bit of a tangent here, reach out, make sure that people, that organizations, if you support you, that they have a plan to give you a campaign contribution. If they tell you, oh, well, we're not a registered PAC, so we can't give campaign contributions, then throw a little bit of shade their way and say well, really? Then come on, what's the point here then? You don't have to be a jerk about it, but people need to step up their game a little bit. If they're going to make you go through this whole endorsement process, which is a lot of time for you to take to do that typically, and they're not giving you a campaign contribution out of it, they need to rise up on another level here. Just my personal opinion. Okay, volunteers. This is certainly something that the organization should be prepared to do, but you'd be surprised at how stingy some of them can be about it. So if you're an endorsed candidate of theirs, they should really help you to drive volunteers to your campaign. So maybe it is a weekly newsletter that they send out to their email distribution list or Facebook postings or however they do it. They should have a program in place to be directing their memberships to volunteer on your campaign. Maybe it's only the few weeks leading up to the election. It can't be like a months and months long ongoing thing. But there should be some sort of program in place, and make sure you get programmed into that and ask them for volunteers for your campaign. You can perhaps get them to classify your race as a priority race. I did this for all the PACs that I worked on, that we would have a handful of races that were deemed priority, meaning there was some sort of significance that made this race more meaningful to us than a standard race. Like there was one when I was working for Equality California, and I was also president of Sacramento Stonewall at that time. There was a race in the Sacramento area where this was in the 2010 race. A man was running for assembly, and he was like the lead attorney for the Proposition 8 campaign, the Yes on Proposition 8 campaign, which was this incredibly hateful, horrible campaign that, as I mentioned previously, it took away the rights of the existing rights of Californians to enter into same-sex marriages. That was an existing right. And the Proposition 8 campaign, which was victorious, changed the California state constitution to make same-sex marriage illegal. Actually wrote it into the constitution of the state, which is a big freaking deal. So this guy, his name was Andy Puno, was running for state assembly, and he was the lead attorney on that case. He drafted all of the language for the ballot initiative that ultimately made the change and won. He was one of the lead people on the campaign, and this guy was like the architect of the whole thing. And he had spent his entire career since he was in college on all these anti-gay initiatives. The guy was a total nut job. Like, who spends their entire adult life fighting against someone's right to get married? Like, wacko, psycho. And he was running for assembly right there in the Sacramento area. So I was like, screw this. That was for the Sacramento Stonewall Democrats, which was a Sacramento local political club that was focused on LGBT equality. That was obviously a huge priority race. We weren't going to let this guy win, and it was also in a very competitive district. Most districts are pretty solidly Republican or Democrat. This is one of the few competitive races at that time. And so not only was it super competitive, balanced Republican Democrat, it also had this, total homophobe jerk running. So that was a huge priority for Sacramento Stonewall. And then for Equality California as well, the state's primary LGBT rights organization, that had, they were the lead people fighting against Proposition 8 in 2008 when that happened. So it was, and then this was 2010, the following election cycle, this guy was running. So it was a priority race for them as well. So that's what I mean by priority race. Also, fun fact, so that guy, Andy Puno, he did end up losing that race. He lost to this guy named Dr. Richard Pan, who I developed a friendship with during that time because we were both working so hard for Dr. Pan to win. He's currently in the California State Senate and wrote a letter of recommendation for me to get into grad school. So I love that guy. I love Dr. Pan. But so the week after the November 2010 election, I was exhausted because I was running Sac Stonewall and Equality California's political program. So I was politicked out. I was freaking exhausted. And I went on a vacation to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. It was actually my brother had his wedding there. And we stayed at this most baller, ridiculous resort I've ever been to. The place was insane. Had some sort of crazy, luxurious rating that only a few hotels and then in the entire Caribbean, Mexican Caribbean, have. So anyway, at this ridiculous place, I'm there, it's my first day. I had a number of drinks with my brother and his friends, and I walk into the restaurant inside the resort where we were having dinner that night, and I look across the room, and that guy, Andy Puno, is sitting there with his wife. And I'm like, what? How drunk am I? I didn't have that many drinks. And I look and I'm like, oh my God, that's him. And this is literally the week after the election. He was probably in so much pain and reeling because that's a lot of work running for a state assembly seat in one of the most contentious races in the state. So I'm sure he was exhausted and sad that he had lost and put all this like energy and money into it or whatever. And he like looked at me and then like double taked, looked at me. Because, you know, there are like videos of me out there like on the steps of the California State Capitol, like, we must stop this guy, he's horrible, like you know, like that are like on the internet, like speaking out against this guy. I built a whole website against him, and like, so I was very publicly out there against this guy with my face. And then he is there like with his wife, and his kids were there too, just trying to get away from it all at this beautiful, insanely expensive resort down in Mexico. And yeah, I felt really bad that he had to see me there. No, I didn't. Screw that guy. I hope you're watching it right now and I'm still laughing at you, you freaking jerk. Ha ha. Anyway, that's what you get for being a friggin' homophobe, you piece of... Anyway, moving on. So that was a priority race. Tangent, fun story, over. Let's move on here. So you can also get out of their endorsement, you can put it on your materials. So if you're going out and walking a district that you know has tons of like steel worker folks living in that area or whatever, and you have the endorsement of the local pipe fitters union, then you can put that on your materials that you're going to be using out in that area. And that goes for your website too. You can add it to your big list of endorsements that's on your website. Hopefully, well, also you can get access to their membership lists, and you can send out tailored mailings and emails and campaign advertisements and solicitations to their members saying like, hey, here's who I am. Did you know that I have the support of your organization that you belong to? Send out specific mailings like that. So what is the organization going to want to get out of it? Because they will want to get something out of it, trust me. So they're going to want you to make good on your policy platform. Whatever you've promised policy-wise that has resonated well with them, they're going to want to see you make good on that. So you got to keep your word, guys. Like when you say things in the campaign, you can't be a Donald Trump. You can't just reverse on everything that you say. Man, I am on fire in this lesson. Listen to all of my little personal jabs I'm getting in here. Sorry. No, not really sorry. They're also going to want access to you. So if you do win and you are in this office, your time is going to be very tight. You're probably going to be a really busy person, and access is going to be limited to you. But if they came out hard for you on the campaign trail, they're going to expect that, if they need to meet with you about something, that they're going to be able to meet with you. It doesn't mean they're in your office every single day, but when they do call for that meeting, you should be able to take it. Third, they're going to want your face. And by that, I mean, if they're having a big event, it looks good for them to have high-profile political folks at their event. It adds a little bit more like cachet. So maybe it's their annual gala fundraiser that they're having. And, they're trying to drum up support and trying to drum up ticket sales for people to come there. They can say, hey, did you know that, Carol Smith, candidate for mayor, is going to be at our gala? And people are like, ooh, helps them sell tickets. So they're going to want your face. They're going to want you around. And fourth, they might want you to buy space on a mailer that they send out. This is called it has a few different names, but it's like a candidate card, or I'm blanking on like the other names for it. But it's essentially like a maybe an 8.5 by 11 or smaller like card that they mail out to all of their members, and it says 2018 primary election endorsements, and then it has like a bunch of, it says like governor, lieutenant governor, state assembly, state senate, city council, like, all the races in their area, and it has who they have supported for those various races, and maybe like a little picture of them and a name on there. And so they turn this into like a fundraising thing. They tell you like, hey, Chris, we endorsed you for your county supervisor race. Congratulations again. We're so happy for you. And we gave you that $1,000 campaign contribution. We're just so excited to support your candidacy. Hey, something else that we're doing for the election to try and get our members to get out and vote for everybody is we're sending out this mailer to them, and it should hit their mailboxes on the Monday before the election. We want to remind them who the supported candidates are. So we're putting all of the candidates on there, so you'll be on the card. But for a little bit of extra money, so you can help us cover the costs of this thing, we can put you up on the top as like one of the highlighted races. So people will be sure to see your face and your name up there when they go to the polls. And for, only like $5,000 to help us cover the costs of this mailer that's going to go to, 25,000 people, and we can put your face up there. So they might come to you with a pitch like that. I don't recommend doing it unless it's like a really, really, really key constituency group that you're trying to reach. I wouldn't do this. I just don't think it's the right bang for your buck. And they'd probably ask like kind of a lot of money to do that, at least in my experience in seeing these things. So I would recommend not doing that. Okay, so then let's just wrap up here talking about like ongoing relationship. So you want to have a solid bromance with these people. So just keep this a positive relationship, period. Whether or not you got the endorsement or whether or not you didn't, we want to keep this being a positive relationship. Even if you guys get into arguments or have some sort of falling out in the future about different policy proposals or initiatives or whatever, keep it a positive relationship, period. Don't drag their name through the mud, even if they drag your name through the mud. You want to stay on the high ground here, and it's probably not going to happen, but just maintain that positive relationship. And make this a long-term relationship with these people, not transactional. So really think of this as like this is a partner that you have established to make your community a better place. I know it sounds like a little bit cheesy, and everyone can get really bogged down with the nitty-gritty of politics, and it can feel very like transactional and like, oh, here's some money. And I mean, you heard the way I was talking about this just a second ago. Like, what do you mean these people aren't going to give you money? And like, haha, the guy lost and he had to see me on his vacation. It can get like dirty and very transactional very quick. Guilty, totally guilty of that. But you know what? I'm not running for office and never have been. So it's your job as a candidate to make this a partnership, and you're entering into this this relationship with these organizations and the people behind these organizations to make your community a better place in the long run. So that's how you should approach this. Somebody that was very good about this in the Sacramento area was this woman named Mariko Yamada, who was running for assembly when I first started getting into politics, and she was an assembly member, the whole time I was there. And, I developed a nice relationship with her. She was very sweet and took a genuine interest in Sacramento Stonewall and Equality California and me and what I was doing in my life, and would respond to emails like that, shared the same values, talked openly about it, but would have frank conversations about debate. I really thought the world of Mariko, still do. I should check in and see what she's up to. I think maybe she's running for state senate or something out there. But she was really, really good at that with a lot of different organizations. So you're also going to need input from them on complex policy. When I talked about access earlier, and then them, when they make a meeting with you, they expect you to take it. You're going to want to take those meetings as well, because you're probably going to be facing issues that you're going to have to vote on, or you're going to have to come up with a plan on how to attack, and you're going to need expert knowledge from advocacy organizations that know everything about those areas. So that's one more reason to maintain that positive relationship with them and to see this in a long-term view. And just wanted to end here on a fun note, Gossip Fest. So there's always a million different kind of gossipy things going on in your political circles and local politics, and these folks can help you stay abreast of what is going on. So don't be afraid to ask them, wink, what's going on in the community, what's happening, and they can hopefully fill you in on all the good dirt. You don't want to look like the gossiper, but you definitely want to consume the gossip. So that's all I have for you here in lesson 3 about what to do after that endorsement decision has been made, and that wraps up chapter 7 for us. So that's all about the endorsements and organizational support and how to get the most out of these organizations. Hope this was useful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll get back to you as quick as I can here in the comments and stuff. So Good luck getting the support of all those organizations out in your community. Good luck, guys. Thanks.